begin, begins, began, have begun. Present. I begin, you begin. He, she, it begins. We begin, you begin, they begin. Example, he always begins breakfast with coffee. Past, I began, you began, he, she, it began, we began, you began, they began. Example, I began to feel uneasy. Present perfect, have or has begun. Past perfect, had begun. Present progressive, I am beginning. You are beginning. He, she, it is beginning. We are beginning. You are beginning. They are beginning. Example, it is beginning to rain. Past progressive, I was beginning. You were beginning. He, she, it was beginning. We were beginning. You were beginning. They were beginning. Example, we were beginning to get worried. Future, will begin. Future progressive, will be beginning. Future perfect, will have begun. The past passive, it was begun, they were begun. Example, therapy was begun immediately. Complements. Begin, meaning to start. For example, his meetings never begin on time. Meetings always begin with the reading of the minutes. The trouble began when Mac called Thack a fool. When does the parade begin? Begin with an object meaning to start an activity, event, or process. The chairperson began the meeting promptly at 2 o'clock. He began the discussion with a joke. Infinitive, I began to fall asleep during the long lecture. The orchestra began to play. With a clause, we only began what absolutely had to be finished. They began whatever they needed to do. Present participle, I began falling asleep during the long lecture. The orchestra began playing. Phrasal verbs. Begin by or with. To start a sequence or a process with something. The new owners began by firing all the managers. Career planning begins with assessing your strengths. Begin by or with an event or doing something means to start a process. Let's begin the meeting with a big thank you to the organizers. The song begins with a reference to fields of strawberries. Expressions. Beginner is a person who is starting to learn something. He's a beginner when it comes to woodworking. Beginner's luck means the luck of an unexperienced person. Winning my very first case was just beginner's luck. To begin with, first of all, to begin with, there were no eyewitnesses.